Now I will switch to English to introduce our final speaker of the AI Accelerator 2025. Anya is renowned Caribbean entrepreneur, fashion designer, and a winner of Project Runway Season 9. She will share her powerful season, small markets, unlimited potential, how Caribbean and LATAM SMEs companies win with AI. She will show us how small markets entrepreneurs across the Caribbean and Latin America can leverage artificial intelligence to scale their business, boost creativity, and compete globally. And Anya, thank you so much for being here with us today. The floor is all yours.
Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning. It's such a pleasure to be here with you today. Thank you so much to the IDB for having me. I am thrilled to share this information, and I just want to start by saying that I have learned everything that I'm going to share today on my own very intuitively, and I think that hopefully is relatable to all of you. And a lot of what I'm sharing, I'm still learning, I'm still uncovering, I'm still exploring. So I'll start a little bit with who I am, and let me just share my screen, and you let me know that you can see. 1 second. Yes?
Yes, but we are seeing the desktop.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry about that.
It's
Okay.
okay.
Let me present. Sorry, where do I present?
You have the present button right there.
Right there.
Mm,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Great.
Now we can see it.
So
Thank
perfect. Okay. As I mentioned, I live in Trinidad and Tobago. I'm a fashion designer and a tech entrepreneur and social innovator. I have a wonderful relationship with the IDB in Trinidad and in the Caribbean. So it is always wonderful to be part of this community. And I wish I could see all of you, but I am sure that in some way or form, you also have had the experience of how wonderful the IDB has been to us as SMEs from this part of the world. So, as mentioned earlier, I won Project Runway, the TV show in the US in 2011, but I won not knowing how to sew. And I learned 4 months before the show. So, very much like what I've started to do with AI is how I've been my whole life, really, is just sort of curious and diving in and trying things from a place of just adventure. And so 14 years later, after winning the show, I'm still here, very much a rule breaker in how I run my businesses. And I think that this is common to us in this part of the world. You know, our reality is that we have smaller markets generally. We have limited local demand, so it's harder to scale our businesses where we live and where we're from. Supply chains and access to materials, access to how we manage our businesses can be challenging. I'm sure I'm not saying anything that is foreign to all of you. We have small teams generally as SMEs, and it's very difficult to find financing to be able to scale our businesses generally, depending on which industry we're in. So we're trying to compete globally with just very little resources. And on the flip side, that's actually what makes us unique. And it also is what makes the access to this technology very applicable to how we operate. So we're very good at operating with limited resources. We have a lot of skill in being resilient, in being innovative, and taking what little we have and making something extraordinary with it. So what I'm sharing with you today is how I have done that myself. Okay. So again, most of the Caribbean and Latin America, we have sort of limited access to being able to scale. But AI, in my experience, has impacted the cost of operating tremendously. Up to 40, 50% of the cost of running my fashion business has been replaced by AI. And it's not necessarily because I'm so efficient at building systems. It's really just the access to the technology is so affordable, and it has such an impact on every single step of the workflow that that my little team of about 4 to 5 people, have been able to operate as though we're a much bigger size team. So for the first time, like I'm saying here, we have the potential really to scale like global companies if we apply the technology effectively. I'm sure all of you are already using a lot of the tools like ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, and I think I can't always know when I'm sharing this information at what stage of development you are in your business and the application of AI. So I'm just going to focus on marketing and content and product development, because that's where, for my fashion business in particular, I've had the most impact in operating my business efficiently with AI tools. Customer service, financial management, and operations and workflow, there's so many tools available that I think we could deep dive even further when we have another opportunity. But for today, for all the creative SMEs in particular, especially those in fashion and accessories and anything of that nature, I will share what we have done as a small team to be able to leverage these tools. So obviously, the most useful application of the tech for us has been marketing and content creation. We use ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, Canva, as of course I used to build this presentation. And we use one new tool in particular called the Fabricant, which is a company out of Amsterdam, which has revolutionized how we create our content, particularly for things like our websites and our social media. So we are using ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Claude to do all of our social media content from the standpoint of developing the language that goes on our website, that goes on our social media pages, that goes into our email newsletters. It has changed the efficiency of developing copy exponentially. So that obviously impacts email marketing, and it impacts the creation of graphics, the creation of videos. And so we have been able to use a wide variety of tools, but I would say by far for us, the use of ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Claude for the copy and strategy development has been huge. We use it a lot to figure out which markets we want to enter, deep market research that we did not have access to before unless we were paying very expensive consultants. So we've been able to develop our fashion line in a matter of weeks versus months with about 50% of the cost using all of these tools. One area in particular has been exceptional. I did a photo shoot for my new clothing line that I was not very happy with, and we had spent all of the budgets for this for the development of content for the e-commerce platform. So one afternoon, one weekend, I decided to sit down and search all the tools that exist to be able to develop actual AI generated content on my own. And it took several iterations. It wasn't perfect. Lots of the tools are a bit new and buggy and not exactly accurate. So it really took focus and persistence. But in the end, we ended up with some really exceptional AI generated images and videos where our clothing line is on AI generated models. And this has really been a giant leap for us in being able to transpose imagery that is relatively basic to stills and videos that we feel are, really high end and position our brand on at a global standard, which is obviously what we're aiming for, because we want to be able to export to bigger markets in the Caribbean. So you can see here the difference between where we were and where we've gotten to, simply starting with the most basic imagery and being able to develop a host of AI generated images that then we placed on our website. So the website as well was built on Shopify. Right now, there's ways to build websites using vibe coding, which I'll get into next, using natural language, which is just revolutionary, not having to know how to code, but still being able to build software, websites, dashboards, and apps just by typing in your prompt has been really groundbreaking for us. So we built this website ourselves, and you can see that a lot of the imagery that we've used is AI generated. So we don't want to lose entirely the human touch, but it has given us a leap towards global standard content creation that we would not have been able to do, we would not have been able to afford. And that has really been an exciting development for us as a small brand coming out of the Caribbean. We also used all the different LLMs, so ChatGPT and Perplexity, to write the copy that goes onto the website and to figure out all the logistics of how to ship efficiently, which shippers to use versus others. The level of integration of using the tech to develop the business strategy has been exceptional as well, because as a small company, again, we would not be able to afford the expertise that you usually have to pay for to discover this information on your own. So there may be lots of objections, or not necessarily objections, but resistance when you think about adoption of this technology as a small company. Things like, is it too expensive? And too expensive is all relative, of course, but a lot of the tools have a free trial option to just start off and make sure that it's the right tool for your business and the right application to your industry. And then if you do have to pay for them, there's somewhere in the range of 20 to 50 US a month. So affordable. My hack has been to use Perplexity, because in Perplexity, you get access to all the other LLMs, so ChatGPT, Claude, Grok, etc. And I find that very useful because each of them have different expertise. Perplexity, I find very good for research, as opposed to Claude, really great for developing copy. So I pay for one LLM, which is Perplexity, and I find that that gives me a range of options at a very affordable price. So, just like when I went to do the TV show Project Runway, I did not know how to sew. The same thing applies here. I do not know how to code. I do not know how to, I'm not a software engineer, but not being technical is not a barrier anymore. And in fact, this is why it's so exciting, because you don't have to be. And that really is the opportunity that we're getting to grasp. Time, right? We're small businesses. When do you have time to apply all of this? I have two children who are very young. I run three businesses. I definitely do not have the time, but I have gained back so much time by learning these tools. I actually have one tool here that I think is really exceptional called the Claude. I put it onto the back of my phone. I don't know if you can see me right now. And I use it to record all of my meetings and transcribe and summarize every single meeting and every single brainstorming session in a very effective way. So, a way to get through this is to sort of start with one tool, dedicate an hour per week or however much time you have, and just start to learn how to apply it to your businesses, because you will buy back the time that you think you don't have. And always the concern about you're going to lose the human touch, or the tech won't understand your business. But really, just like you training a team member is how you would train the different LLMs or whichever tools you're using to operate the way you do yourself. So this is my recommended, depending on where you are in the process of using AI. Start small so that it does not overwhelm you. You can pick one task that is definitely draining your time. Like for me, that's developing documents. I am a creative much more so than I am an operator. And so I really don't like developing documents or writing documents, but the technology has helped me do that, from drafting legal documents to not necessarily only using AI for anything legal, but giving me some structure around legal documents, strategy documents, administrative documents. All of that is a real pain point for me. So that's where I started. And if you just do that once a week, you'll start to see how easy it is and how applicable it is to building efficiencies in your process. Don't aim for perfect. Again, all the way back to the beginning of my story, I would never have won Project Runway if I was worried about whether or not I could create a garment perfectly. I definitely could not. But because I just started and got better and better and better over time, that is how I managed to get to where I am. And it's the same thing using the AI technology. The weekend that I spent taking the disappointing e-commerce images and translating them into world-class outputs of content was, it just took iteration for a period of time, but eventually got there. And then once you see the results, obviously, like everything else, you start to apply that confidence to other tools, other techniques, and it becomes confidence building as you go along. And I think what I did eventually, once I started really feeling like I had a certain grasp on certain these tools, I started spreading the word, started telling my friends, started bringing my team, of course, into the fold. And once we started all using the tools, then it gets really exciting, and the efficiencies only build from there. In 2022, IDB lab in Trinidad and Tobago and the global IDB labs supported me in developing a women's livelihood initiative where we have trained almost 100 women how to produce both the fashion and carnival. Carnival is a big festival here in Trinidad, as it is in many of your countries, I'm sure. And so we were training women how to sew, and we have had a certain level of, significant impact since with the IDB Lab support. And the reason I'm sharing this is because I then decided to take that same model and put it into an app. So now we're building an app again with more support from the IDB and the EU that will match makers of apparel directly to consumers at scale on a global level. So when I wanted to do this, of course, the idea of paying a development team, a coding team to do this felt very overwhelming. How am I going to afford tech developers to build this app? And to be honest, we still went down the road of finding tech developers. But what I've done is dive deep into what is called vibe coding, which I mentioned earlier, which is a form of natural language coding. Just like you use ChatGPT, prompting directly into the chat box, you can build an app, you can build a website, you can build a dashboard. Once I started to learn this, it was a complete revolution. So I'll play this video to give a little idea of what vibe coding is. So I don't know how many people like punk rock, but I definitely like being able to take an idea and make it happen, bring it to life. And the idea that you could do that in a software perspective was just mind blowing to me. So I got really into vibe coding. And here are some of the apps that you can use. I'm sure some of you have heard of Lovable. It's the most popular one. It's so well designed that even a 6-year-old could build a website using it. So if you have any interest in this sort of thing, I 1000% recommend you start with Lovable, and then you can grow into the other apps. I've used Replit quite a bit because each of them give you a different level of integration or ability to manipulate the code after you've used the vibe coding aspect of it. And so depending on how far along you want your product or your service to go, you might want to choose a different version of a vibe coding app. But I highly recommend Lovable to begin with, and then maybe move on to Replit. And I can sort of say, essentially, I've been creating all sorts of different apps and websites in the middle of the night when I have time. And anything from personal usage, like an app for my children's school, all the way to the development of the app that I'm going to share with you now, which is this spool platform that we are building for makers to be matched to consumers. So how I did it was I used ChatGPT to come up with how to prompt the vibe coding app, which was Replit. I just put in, I want to build an app that matches makers directly to clients all around the world to co-create a garment that is bespoke, made to measure, one-off garment. And I want it to be able to operate all over the world. And I want it to give particularly the client a way in which they can come up with an idea and translate that for the maker to understand. So I typed that into Replit, and then it gave me the first version of the app. And since then, this has now been a few months, we have gotten to the point where we have a functioning app and we're onboarding users and we're starting to prepare to launch it. And really, I mean, it costs about 25 US a month to use Replit. It would have cost easily upwards of 50,000 US to build it if we hired developers. We have hired developers, like I mentioned, but that is so that we can make sure that the code that I have built is actually functional and is properly designed. But it gave me a way to build something, which is this app that I'm showing you here, that I knew I wanted it to operate in a specific way. It was directly came from just my ability to explain what I want this solution to be. And this has just been absolutely revolutionary for me. So I then went on to share this information with more people. I'm a big proponent for supporting women and creating more and more ways for women to thrive. So I recently hosted an event at my school facility, which was called Sip Shop and Vibe Code, and we talk. I got to share with them how I developed my app and what different tools are available. And this has been the beginning of the development of a community around technology, fashion, and women's empowerment, which really lights me up. And similarly to why I was so excited to be able to speak with you all here today. And I think, the most crucial point I guess I want to leave with you all is that because we come from a part of the world where we do have a lot of barriers, a lot of obstacles, it actually makes us very well primed to use this technology. We know how to be creative in difficult situations. We know how to do a lot with a little. And now with AI, we can actually grow to become global standard businesses because of how exceptionally it amplifies our ability to be creative, to be innovative, and to stand out in the world with our businesses and our products. So my last message would be scared and do it anyway. Be uncomfortable. It is the best way to get to your biggest dream. Thank you so much. And if you would like to know more about what I'm doing, join the Vibe and Thrive community. Please follow me on Instagram, at Anya Ayangchi, and send me a message, and I'll add you to our channel where we share all of this information on an ongoing basis.
Thank you so much, Anya. That was absolutely inspiring, amazing. The audience is loving your presentation. Seriously, thank you so much.
Thank
We have
you.
a
Thank you.
couple
It's
of
an honor.
questions. Many of the questions were answered while you were presenting, but we have one that Mariana asked, and she said, in your experience, when you do a normal content with people, shootings, editing, and when you do an AI content, which one have the most successful ratings in views and engagement on social media?
That is a really good question. And I'll just be honest with you. We launched the collection only 2 weeks ago. So we have been leveraging mostly the human content to start to story tell about the brand. But what I've found is that using the AI generated content on the website as opposed to the social media has been much more functionally successful because it still provides the customer, the client, with an opportunity to see the clothes and understand what the clothes look like and how they fall. But I do think, I mean, this is why your question is so good. I still think that the human, organic content that features a person is still more effective on social media. For now
Perfect.
anyway.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Other question that the audience asked if uh, I lost here. If the apps that you use are free, are paid, taking into account that many of the audience here, they are from SMEs companies with small budgets and everything, right?
Sorry, can you
No,
repeat the question? Oh.
yeah, if the apps that you use, they are free or they have like a
Mm.
mensual fee.
Right. Well, most of the LLMs, which are the large language models, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, etc., there are free versions. It just means that as long as you're using the free version, you may run out of time in a day. Like you might not be able to upload as many images within 24 hours. But I think that's still very useful. It's still, I
Mhm.
always suggest that you use the free version first, figure out which of them make more sense for your business. Because the second thing is the technology is moving so quickly. Every week there's a new app. Every week there's an
It's
updated
true.
version. So I wouldn't subscribe to anything until you know that it's definitely adding value to your business.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Other question was if we can share your presentation with the audience as well. We will
Absolutely.
upload it in the platform so you can all see it. That was it. Anya, thank you so much once again. The audience love it. We are seeing tons of hearts, clapping hands, and thumbs up in the chat. Clearly, your message is resonating with everyone. Thank you once again. You are truly an inspiration and a role model for thousands of entrepreneurs across the region, especially in the Caribbean, and for women entrepreneurs who now see that the small markets can have unlimited potential with the right visions and goals and tools. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.